Stop wasting time shifting from one color to another to shade your drawings. There is a very easy way to shade your entire drawing with one single step and keeping the true colors unaltered. I am Grecia and I will show you exactly how to achieve these. I recreated the scene from the One Piece anime episode 1074, where Luffy is doing his Gum Gum lightning attack. It was an amazing episode with beautiful animation, and I was captivated by that very frame, and I just knew I needed to draw it. So, of course, if you want to get a nice and dramatic shading, there has to be a little more depth within your base colors. For a faster way, however, you could simply do one base color for each segment of the drawing and then fast forward to where I explain the epic shading hack. But I prefer to add a little more texture to the drawing, so I added very soft shades and highlights all around the drawing. This scene is happening on a night sky, and Luffy is holding a lightning bolt on his right hand. Therefore, the contrast between light and shadow will be very intense. So these soft and pastel shadows that I am creating will not do justice to the scene, but it will help by making it look less flat. I went into sections coloring each part of Luffy, using new layers and clipping mask options to shade each part individually. So now we have a soft coloring over a dark background. This is where the fun begins. Make sure all of the segments of your coloring are in the same layer, doing so by merging them all together. In this case, Luffy's skin, hair, and clothes should all be in the same layer, but not the line art, of course. This is so that you can add a new layer above the base colors and apply the clipping mask option, so that your shading covers only and all of Luffy. We're gonna use a deep purple color for this one, since the scene has cool tones overall. We are applying the blending mode Multiply this time. The Multiply mode, as its name implies, multiplies the colors of the blending layer and the base layer, resulting in a darker color. This is the best blending mode for coloring shadows. Normally for my thumbnail art, as I described in a previous video, I use the blending mode Luminosity. This blending mode, however, normally makes the shading acquire a dark brown shading over skin tones, since this mode makes the layer lose most of its color. Since we want a deep blue shading for this scene, Multiply works a lot better than Luminosity. Once you have shaded all of the areas needed, you can play with the opacity to see how deep you want the shading to be. I opted for a bit more translucent since I didn't want to lose the details of the drawing. Now, if you look closely, by lowering the opacity, the colors in the shaded part become a bit duller, and I am aiming for a more rich and deep coloring. To enhance the shading, I duplicated the layer and I changed the top layer's blending mode to Soft Light. The Soft Light mode makes every color that is lighter than 50% gray even lighter, and every color that is darker than 50% gray even darker. Since we are using a dark blue color for the shade, the blending mode will increase the darkness in a deep way. Notice how it makes it even more rich and less opaque? When combining these two blending modes when shading, you can vary the opacities for both layers and play around, whether you want a richer and less dark shading or a darker and more dull shading, and so on. Lastly, I finished by adding a blue glow reflection of the lightning bolt on his face and clothes to enhance the contrast further. I toyed with the opacities back and forth until I found the combination that I liked the most. And that is the final piece. So as a summary, your layers should go as follows, from bottom to top. Base color, either texturized with soft shading or a flat base color. Multiply blending mode, and then on top Soft Light blending mode, and then the opacities may vary for both. And then you have your line art, and finally your glows and highlights at the very top. It may seem like a lot of layers, but it's definitely a time saver from having to change from one shade to another for the skin, the clothes, and the hair. It looks nice and clean and very dramatic for such an epic scene. Let me know in the comments if you try out this technique. Thank you so much for watching.